Welcome back to Obadiah's Secrets Revealed. In this video, we are going to do something that is very exciting. We are going to look at maps. Yes! Yes! Most Bibles have maps, whether they are study Bibles or not. I use a Ryrie Study Bible, a red letter King James Version. If you turn to the back of your Bible, you will see a series of maps, and each map will indicate the time period it is describing. It usually starts with the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. It will also include the time of the Exodus. There should be a map of the allocation to the tribes of Israel. It may include a map of the time of the kings, Saul, David, Solomon. Usually you would find a map of the divided kingdom, and there will be maps all the way into the New Testament. But for our purposes, we will be starting with the map of the Exodus, going all the way to the divided kingdom. At this time, we need to review our history, because there are some things that I would mention in chapter 12 and onward you may quickly move past if you don't know this history. So let's begin with the map that shows the route the children of Israel took when they left Egypt. This is the most popular route, but there is also an alternative route that some Bible scholars support. If you have ever heard about the short route or the shorter route, the one that would have taken them probably about 2 weeks, this is it. But all these routes lead to one place, the Promised Land, here. On this map, we should take note of the kingdom of Moab, where we will find the Moabites, and also the kingdom of Edom, where we will find the Edomites. Before we leave this map, it should be noted that this map contains the events from the book of Exodus to the book of Deuteronomy. This next map shows the allocation of the Promised Land to the tribes of Israel. Here's the Jordan River, and the book of Joshua describes how the various tribes inherited their allotment of the land. Now, if we want to be technical, East Manasseh, described in the King James as the half tribe of Manasseh, Gad, and Reuben, received their inheritance in the books of Numbers and Deuteronomy. When Joshua crossed the Jordan, the men of war of these tribes crossed over with the rest of the Israelites to assist them in their conquest of the land. When Joshua died, there were some areas yet to be conquered, but the boundaries for all the tribes had been clearly allocated. So these are the areas where the tribes settled. In the north, we have Asher, Naphtali, and Zebulun. More in the middle, we have Issachar, the other half tribe of Manasseh, Ephraim, Dan, and Benjamin. In the south, we have Simeon, which was actually located within the boundaries of Judah. So these are the allocations for the 12 tribes of Israel. But what about Levi? Levi is a son also. And what about Joseph? Joseph is also a son. It is very interesting how the Bible at times does math. Both Levi and Joseph were physical sons of Israel. However, in terms of inheritance and allotment for land, the tribe of Levi is not considered because of what they did. Instead, they were given what the Bible calls cities and suburbs. Joseph had two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. They were considered as separate tribes and given allocations of land. So here we have the 12 sons born to Israel, but for the purpose of inheritance or allotment of land, minus Levi, minus Joseph, we get 10. And then we add Ephraim and Manasseh, we get 12. So here we have our map of the 12 tribes of Israel by land allocation. But we cannot speak about the 12 tribes without mentioning some of the enemies of Israel. And on this map, we have Ammon, Moab, Edom, and there at the top, we have Aram, also called Syria. The book of Judges documents the wars that were fought by the Israelites and some of their neighbors. In this next map, we are going to look at the first three kings of Israel: Saul, David, and Solomon. During this time, the governance structure shifted from a tribal governance structure to a more centralized governance structure, where the king had authority over all the tribes. So this centralized structure started off relatively small in the time of Saul, and it grew significantly in the time of David. And with Solomon, he expanded things a little further. The events surrounding these three kings can be found in 1st and 2nd Samuel and the first few chapters of 1st Kings. We now come to the map that is most relevant to us, the map that represents the state of affairs in the time of Obadiah. This is the map of the divided kingdom. In the south, we have Judah. But if we recall, the tribe of Simeon was located within the boundaries of Judah. In the north and also in the east of Jordan, we have all the other tribes collectively called Israel. So when the Bible speaks about Israel, if it is before 1st Kings, it is speaking about the Jewish people or the Hebrews. From 1st Kings forward, the text will indicate if it is speaking about the northern kingdom of Israel or if it is speaking about all Jewish people. So when I mention the God of the South, you have a better idea of what I'm speaking about. And when I mention things like the northern kingdom, you will understand better what I mean. Finally, I want to zoom into Samaria. This was the capital of the northern kingdom. I also mentioned Mount Carmel, which is way over on the coast. Later on in the book, I will mention Jezreel, and we need to go to a different map to see where Jezreel is. So these are the locations of the places that I mentioned in the book, and I really hope that this geography lesson was helpful to you in understanding Obadiah's secrets.